Good evening, lovely spirits. It's the wise servant here, Mr. Solace. Peace and wisdom. Now, today I want to do this video discussing why men die early in today's times. Now, when I say early, I don't want you to get lost on people's assumptions and theories of the amount of time men are supposed to live, but I'm just speaking of the 120 or so years that men are supposed to live. So this is what I'm speaking of when I say men die early, meaning men die before 120 years or so. Far shorter than that. So it's a deep thing I want you guys to grasp. Now, when I say mankind, when I say men, I mean mankind, women included. So, stay with me. It's a very deep thing. But I want to discuss that, give you a little breakdown on that. I'm sorry, I just drank orange juice and the pulp is all in my mouth. No homo. Well, you know, for the homos, no homo. But when you're a real man, you don't have to actually say no homo. That's what homosexuals say when they're talking to real men, and they may say something like, oh, this is nice in my mouth. Then they may say no homo, so that he knows they're not, like, you know, trying anything funny. But if you're a real man, you don't have to say no homo because you're not homosexual. So nothing you say would ever be homosexual. So it's a very deep thing. I see a lot of the young say no homo. And I used to say this also when I was young. No homo. But men don't have to say that. That's a term for homosexuals when they're speaking with men and they may say something, you know. Would you like some nuts or something like this? Any regular conversation, if a straight man is speaking to a homosexual, it could be taken out of turn. Something as simple as that. Would you like some nuts? I have some. Now, I eat nuts. If someone offered me some nuts, I would want some, but if they were homosexual, I wouldn't actually know how to take that. Therefore, they would need to say, like, no homo, but I have nuts, if you'd like some. So that's all I mean, but it's a very deep thing I want you guys to grasp. Now, before I get into this video discussing why men die early, I want to touch on something that has to do with the poor. When I say the poor, I include myself. But I want to speak to my fellow poor people in the world. And I want to say this, because I was reflecting. And I realized when I was young, I used to be King Vitamin for Halloween. Now, if you don't know who King Vitamin is, King Vitamin is this cereal. It's like a wick cereal, an old cereal called King Vitamin. And back in my days, the cereal came with prizes in them. But King Vitamin was a wick cereal, so they just had a mask on the back of the box, and you just cut the mask out, and it was a King Vitamin mask. So each box had a mask. It didn't have a prize inside, but because it was for poor people, so you just cut the back of the box out and make yourself a mask out of that. So I was King Vitamin for a couple of Halloweens. I remember running around playing King Vitamin with my back of the cereal box mask with the string. It was a deep thing, but we were poor, but I didn't know we were poor at that age. I didn't even know what poor was. And it's a very interesting thing I want you guys to grasp, because most grown people who are poor, they don't perceive themselves as poor. Poor people do not see themselves as poor people, but they are poor people to others. So it's a very deep thing I want you guys to grasp. I say poor people, including myself, because I don't want any problems. But it's a very deep thing. Poor people They do not perceive themselves as poor. It's so cold-blooded, I want you guys to grasp. Adults who are poor, they do not really truly perceive themselves as such, as poor people. It's a deep thing I want you guys to grasp. $50 an hour. Someone who works and makes $50 an hour. This is a poor person's salary. But there's some of you that's watching this video right now, and you may make $50 an hour or close to it. Some of you may make less than $50 an hour, and you say, I ain't poor. What is he talking about? But I want you to grasp. Try to get a rich man $1,500 per week. That's nothing to a rich man or someone who's well off. So grasp my point that I'm trying to make. Poor people do not perceive themselves as such. But like I said, try giving a rich man $1,500 per week to sustain himself off of. Now, $50 an hour is nothing more than $1,500 per week after taxes, but grasp, a rich man will never accept that. $1,500 a week? A rich man doesn't see the difference between $8 an hour and $1,500 a week. It's so cold-blooded to a rich man. See, we're around people who are in our tax bracket, so to say. This is why we do not grasp. But if you go around rich people, then you'll clearly grasp that even a man who makes $50 an hour is poor. It's a deep thing. If you get taxes at the end of the year, you're poor. It's simple. If you have to pay taxes at the end of the year, well, you, my friend, you make too much money. So you got to give back to the good old Gubby-Wubby, Uncle Sammy Danny. So it's a deep thing y'all have to grasp. This is how you know if you making too. This is how you know you a slave. If you make too much money, got to tax you. Good old extortion. It's called taxes. If you don't make, if you're poor, then you just get taxes back. It don't matter how much money you make. If you can get taxes back, you poor. If you can't and you gotta pay, you better be careful. You're getting too much money. It's a deep thing. You're not allowed to have too much money. But I want to go on ahead and go into this video explaining why men die early in today's times. Now, we associate the reason for men not living their complete 120 years or so. We associate this with health problems, the food we eat, the pH levels in the water, different things like this. But most of the reasons for a man not living his whole 120 years, we associate with health in different reasons that lead to health problems. And it's a deep thing. What if I told you guys that men died early because they spend most of their time indoors? Now, there are no trees indoors to intake the carbon. So when you exhale the carbon, being as though there's no trees indoors and men spend most of their time indoors, well, there you have it. You spend most of your day breathing in breath and fart, which is carbon dioxide. It's a deep thing. When you're at work, you're breathing in carbon dioxide through other people's breath that they exhaled and fart, because there's no trees around to take in the carbon. Now, right. Now, I know some of you may think, well, it's good to have plants indoors. But no, the whole point is that you need to be outdoors. See, even plants need to be outdoors. Grass. I don't care if the plant can survive indoors. Wasn't no plant made to be indoors unless man genetically modified the organism of the plant for that purpose. Other than that, the life made everything outside. So plants need to be outside to get what they need so that they can perform the way they perform. So truly, an indoor plant's helping you do nothing. So you just have to grasp. Mind you, one tree sustains about 4 people per day. Your little plant in your house, it's cold-blooded. But I want you guys to all grasp, man, you are breathing in fart. You know, fart. Fart. You know when you have the diarrhea fart, it like have a whistle. You like, oh, what was that? You try to hold it. It's deep, but you breathe in fart in breath most of the day. Just think about how much you're outdoors, just for yourself. Think about the summertime. You have the window closed in your home to keep the air in, the cold air conditioning air in. So you keep the windows sealed up and closed. Wintertime, you seal up the window and keep it shut to keep the heat in. So grass. Then you spend most of your time indoors anyway, at work or what have you, shopping in stores. Most of the things we do, they're indoor activities, so most of the day we spend our time indoors, breathing fart and breath. You're not getting a sufficient amount of oxygen. Now people probably think, well, if we breathe in fart and breath, we should be dead, but the body is adjustable. We think the body is so weak and frail if it doesn't get, you have to grasp. The air you breathe, it's like 15-20% oxygen, if even that. And the rest is nitrogen. So it's not the oxygen that you need, but you need the oxygen really to break down the food. You know, kind of like a laser breaking into something, and the gases and energy that shoots off, this is the energy being pushed through your body. So the breathing is really just to push the energy of the air within you to break up the food and things like this. So it's a deep thing, but a man who does not have a lot of food on his belly, he does not breathe as heavy as someone who does. And this is the reason for that. If you need a reference for what I just said, just look at someone who's full and how they breathe. And you look at someone who's not full, who hasn't eaten. Their breathing is, they don't need as much oxygen because the oxygen is truly for that purpose. But we're not getting the sufficient amount of oxygen. You got to grasp, the air you breathe, it's only 15% oxygen anyway. The rest nitrogen. So grasp. If you're not getting the sufficient amount of air, and the air you breathe is really only 15% oxygen, you might only be getting 2%. And the rest is fart and breath. Y'all have to grasp how disgusting we are in these times, and then we have no clue. Well, why is there disease and health problems? And breathe fart and breath all day. Amongst other things that are just disgusting, that's common. So it's a deep thing. Many of you need to start, because a lot of people focus on diet. Oh, I need to eat like this and I'll live longer, and you see they die before 122. No different than anyone else. And I'm not discouraging anyone from eating healthy or what we deem is healthy, but I'm just saying, the point of the video is why men do not live for the 120 years or so that we're scientifically supposed to. So it's no need for anyone to get lost in diet comments, and I don't have time for that. But my purpose and point is this. If you notice, people are not living anywhere near that, for the most part. And the reason is because of the air that we breathe. This is important. And just think like you're breathing fart and breath. It's a deep thing when you really start to take in perspective the things we do. Everything we do that we deem is great. So houses and buildings and all these architectural designs that we make, they're great. But they make the living of the people disgusting. Y'all actually be indoors with y'all pets. Pets, animals need to be outdoors. You're breathing in your dog's breath all day in his farts. Because dogs don't be like, excuse me, my fart stinks. Let me go. They do what they do. It's deep, cold-blooded. Also, I want to say this, because it's not just the oxygen. See, we focus on the foods, and no, the food is not good, and this is why we're dying fast, and you got to go to the essence of things. Food is physical. Don't worry about no physical things. The unseen dictates the seen, so you go to the essence of things. Now, another reason why we die early is a matter of work. What if I told you because you work every day is the reason why you die short of 120 years? Now, I know a lot of people will say, no, that's a lie. That makes no sense. Well, grasp. In you working every day of your life, you shave off 4 months from every year of your life. So when you working every day, you shave off 4 months from every year of your life. That's 1/3 of the year of your life. Every year, gone. So if a man's supposed to live 120 years, you separate 4 months from every year. And I guarantee you a little add up to the amount of time that men today are living. I studied this. I have my own studies. It's a deep thing, my own sciences. And this is a fact. Working. When men work, they shave off 1/3 of their lifetime. You can see it in the day. When you go to work, you work for 8 hours, which is 1/3 of the day. You gave up 1/3 of your day, which is equivalent to when I said you shave off 4 months off every year of your life by working and slaving the way y'all do. And it reflects in the day. This is how you always know if wisdom is accurate. It should be able to be grasped and seen everywhere. Now look at the day. You have 24 hours in your day, but you give up 1/3 of it. There's no life in that third of the day that you're at work because you don't care about being there. You're there because you're paid. It's bribery. No man would go to work for free. This is why he's paid a salary, which is bribery. Hey man, work for me. I'll pay you. But we act like in today's times we have no clue what's truly going on. We're like, no. You're supposed to get paid for your work. Well, truly, you're not supposed to be working for anyone but yourself in your area where you live, keeping up with the life for your benefit in the life. Because the life sustains the life. But it's a deep thing. That's not what happens. Men work, losing out on 1/3 of their life. 4 months out of every year of their life, gone. 1/3 of their daily day, gone. You work half your life. You work half your day. Better yet, instead of saying you work half your life, you work half your day. Because you need to sleep 1/3 of the day. 6 to 8 hours you sleep, leaving you with 16 hours, 18 at most. And you work 8 or 9 of those. So you pretty much give away half of your day for money. And it reflects in your year, because you give away 4 months off your life every year from doing this. We don't really realize what working does to a person. A young lady who's a Facebook friend of mine, she was explaining to me how she was a nurse and how a lot of the elderly men from before, that were born in the early 1900s, a lot of these men, they're elderly and sick now. And she said a lot of them passed around 65, 70, and their wives still be alive. Because back in those times, the men worked, and the wives stayed at home. And their duties weren't truly working, but they were just working for themselves, keeping up with the house and the baby. This has to do with themselves. It's less stressing. You have more control. It's a deep thing. But she said a lot of the women, the men died first. And we know in the past, men worked, women didn't. So grass. All the elderly men, she said, that come in 65, 70 and they die, they have all kind of complications, but it truly stems from the essence of things. The work brought about all the complications resulting in death early. The wives are still alive because they didn't have the same kind of work and strain. And it's a deep thing I want y'all to grasp. See how it shows in the life what I said? It's not a matter of my opinion, but it's a fact in life. Now, a lot of these women died of broken hearts, but grasp the point. It's the work that's killing y'all. Why y'all think musicians and famous people die so early? And we be like, oh man, they had a drug overdose and this killed them. And it's the work. All of the things y'all name is a matter of the work. If the man wasn't on the road all the time, he wouldn't be all into his drugs like that, because that's a party life, being on the road. So that goes with that. So that's the result of that. The man can't eat healthy and keep up with himself. Why? Because he's on the road. Working. Working is why he's neglecting himself. But he doesn't see it that way because he's making money. And this is the exterior. But the interior is being neglected. He's sleeping from this hotel to that hotel. Now, we know the things that happens in hotels. So you truly have to grasp. Hotels are for sex. This is the whole point of hotels. I know we like to try to justify things and say, no, hotels were made for people that travel, and hotels was made for a place for people to go have sex. Grasp. Now, usually when people did business, they stayed with the family they did business with. What type of person wanted to stay in a hotel? If I'm coming to your place, your town to do business, then you have big baller shit, baby. You going to see Puffy and do business with Puffy. You don't get a hotel. You pick a spot. Man, I got the back house, the front house, and you get busy, baby. Where you want to sleep. So this is my point. We get lost. But the entertainers, they live that lifestyle. It's unhealthy. But the main point is they're working. And their work entails that, which leads to them dying earlier than the man that works a regular 8-hour-a-day job. Why? Because he's only working 8 hours a day and they're working around the clock. So their 4 months that's being shaved off every year is more like 6. Grasp. It's a deep thing. You can see all things in the life. It's just like jail out here. You have a jail called Rikers Island. They sentence you to a year on Rikers Island and you only do 8 months. 8 months is a year in Rikers. Because even those that run the jail system know that if a man is in harsh conditions or working, well then 4 months out of his years, he gonna die. So you can't make him do a whole year, knowing that work makes a man only live 8 months out of every year. So you gotta be realistic. The government is realistic. They say, man, you can't give a man a year and actually make him serve a year, knowing that we got them slaved out, so they only live 8 months out of every year. They lose 4 of it because we slave them for that. So that's why on Rikers Island, a year is 8 months. Now I know there's somebody out there, I'm positive, that can say otherwise and say, no, it's because of this or that. But, like I said, you got to go to the essence of things. This is not an assumption. Men shave off 4 months out of their year, every year, from work. That's 1/3 of the year. When you work 8 hours a day, that's 1/3 of your day you threw away. You can reflect it in people's lives. What's 1/3 of 120? It's a deep thing. Men die around that time. So you truly have to grasp. All is a deep thing. Like, we look at things like, no, that's a good theory. It's not a theory. Just look at it. 1/3 of the day, you spend it working. That's like nothing, thrown away. Out of a year, you lose 4 months, which is 1/3. A man's supposed to live 120 years. 1/3 of that is what? 80. So rise. It's a deep thing. Men die around 80. That sounds about common in today's times. If a man's not murdered or anything, he'll die around 65, 80-ish. Rise. Solace don't lie. Tell the truth, baby. It's all about wisdom. Peace and wisdom. When you have peace, you can rise. It's a simple, deep thing. That's why babies cry when they're born. I know a lot of y'all wonder, why babies cry when they're born? Because they know where they are. Hell. Then at some point, they become adjusted to the terms of hell. And then it's okay. And then at some point, it becomes a beautiful, lovely existence to them. And they completely forget how their brain almost got smashed coming out the vagina. It's a deep thing. They forget how their belly button was chopped off. You know, that's damn near like, that's like assault with a deadly weapon. It's deep. They completely forget how they slapped on the ass for no reason just to see if they can make a sound. Oh, can the baby cry? Is the baby breathing? Let's see if the baby's breathing by seeing if it can scream. Slapping on the ass. Ah, and start screaming. Baby in pain. You ain't never felt a slap. Grasp that. Slap the baby ass, the baby cried, and they take the baby away from the parents and bring them in. I forgot what they call that, the nursery or something, where all the babies just be. And they take them back there and they rape them and shit. And it's a deep behind the scenes thing y'all don't know. Everybody got raped when they was a baby. And they bring the baby back. You say, Solace, why would you say that? Why don't you ask them why do they do that? Exactly, y'all don't question them. Why do they do that? What do you need to take the baby away for? For what? I don't want to hear the answer. Ain't no reason. What the hell y'all talking about? If there wasn't no government and no system, when women had their babies, and somebody came along and said, oh, let me take the baby because I need to... Oh, what? Huh? Don't go like that. That's my point. But y'all go with the rules. Y'all say, no, they got to take the baby in the back, and you justify it because you don't want to face the fact that the baby got taken away to get raped. You like, I'm the parent. How I allow that? So you say, no, you crazy, Solace. I hate you. I hope you die, nigga. I'm going to pay somebody to kill you. And then you get lost in your emotions hating me. I'm just telling you the truth. You don't know what they did to your baby when they took him away. You couldn't go. So it's a deep thing. Last time I checked, sound fishy. My mind gets to wandering in the real life. You taking the baby away because you want to rape it. What else you want to do with the baby? Think about that. What else can the person do with the baby that ain't theirs, that they're taking for no reason, unless you want to rape it? Tell me anything else. That's the only thing I can think of, because babies can't do anything. What you want to say? I wanted to play with the babies can't play? I wanted to smell the baby? That sound like rape shit. Like, you a freak. So it's deep. There's nothing you can say for a good reason why they take the babies away and put them all in the nurseries. They put them in the nurseries like that together because they understand energies. And after you rape a person, they need to be around other raped people for the energy purposes. You know, the empathy. Oh, they raped you too, and you know, babies communicate. It's like A&A meetings for those that's alcoholics, and they need to be around other alcoholics so they can empathize with one another. Like, oh, you're an alcoholic. Oh, I'm one too. Oh, and it helps them. Same with the babies. Like, damn, and baby spirit. Like, damn, they molested your body too? Yeah, they molested my vehicle. I just got this. And it just be deep. The babies be so sad. They're like, damn, I just got this body. It's cold-blooded. You was I know y'all like, man, so be bugging out. Sometimes I bug out, but I'm with y'all. Don't get lost. I'm with y'all. I'm always on y'all conscious, but sometimes I go to others conscious. Because I got that tapping in frequency. So I tap into baby conscious. They be like, man, this is terrible, Solace, Mr. Solace. That's how babies say my name in spirit when they're talking. They say whatever they saying, and then they be like, Solace, Mr. Solace. It's a deep thing. I know y'all like, he's bugging. No, this is a real thing that I just said. When I speak to babies in spirit, that's what they all say that. Whatever they say. Hey, how you doing, Solace, Mr. Solace? But they always be like, babies all got the same spirit. It's so funny when the life is cold-blooded, but babies, like how men got their own lingo in the same area, they all talk. Babies like that, man, they all come from the same kind of womb, and they all got the same kind of vibration and frequency they be on. And they be like, Solace, Mr. Solace. Remind me of my name is Bond, James Bond. I be like, did they get to see that movie somewhere before they came here? And they like, yo, the physical existence is like this. And they showed them James Bond. I don't know. Sometimes I get lost in my thoughts because I do a lot of thinking, but it's a deep thing, man. Babies have a very, very peculiar spirit. And they be in that room raped, empathizing with one another like, yeah, they raped you too? Oh, it be cold-blooded deep, man. Can they bring the babies back? You don't know what happened. It's deep. All types of weird stuff happen, you know what I'm saying? But, it's the breath and fart that we're breathing in all day. It's that and work. That's chopping people down off their 120 years of life. It's cold-blooded. When you read in the Bible, you have to grasp. It may not necessarily be a matter of that's how long men were living, like 1,200 years and 1,000 years, and Methuselah lived to 977, and I don't think that's the accurate number, but it was 970 something. But the point I'm making is this. It doesn't necessarily mean they were living that long, but it's just a matter of how time is kept. So we keep our year according to the sun, you can say. But then you have the month. And the moon is associated with the month, and the moon goes through its cycles. And this is 1 month. And the moon goes through 13 cycles within a year, you can say. 13 complete cycles in a year. And man may have counted moon cycles, complete moon cycles, as years, meaning every year a man would have been 13 years old. So it's a deep thing. If a man lived to 100 years old, he would have been 1,300 years old in his day. But like anything in the ascending of understanding, first men keep track of the moon and they have their months. But they don't have years and all these other things yet. They just have the months. Because first things first. You grasp one thing at a time. They grasp how the month goes, and so the month is all they have. So this is their year. Then they get a little better at astrology, and then they see the more movements of the heavenly bodies, so to say, and then they understand, oh, we can keep a different set of time called the year, where 12 of these or 13 of these moon cycles equal one period. Grasp. So now men had years and months, then weeks. So you have to get my point I'm trying to make. As they're adjusting in their wisdom, things are changing, but they're not actually adjusting the length of time of the person. So if I was from the times where we kept moon cycles as years, I'd be 1,200 years old when I die. at 120, let's say. And then the following year after that, we begin to keep track of time. Every season, meaning every 4 moon cycles completed, is a year. But that's only one season. Or every 3 complete moon cycles is a season. But they may have kept 4 seasons in a year, which would have been 4 years old. Every person would have been 4 years old in a year's time, because they're keeping the seasons as a year, as opposed to keeping a complete moon cycle as a year, making everybody 13 years old in a year. And this is my point. Then they get a year. But in the process of them doing this, they're not going back adjusting everybody's age. If you lived in the times where 1 moon cycle completed was a year, well then your age would just appear extra long. And if you were from the times where seasons, each season was a year, well then you'd be about 400 years old after a year. If you died at 100, you'd be 400. And then, you know, it just gradually goes into our time where 13 months is a year. Now I know we keep 12 months, but astrologically there's 13 months in a year. You have a very small year. A very small month in every year. And most civilizations have this in their calendar. We just don't in America. So it's a deep thing. I don't want to throw anyone off with the 13 month thing, but it's deep. This is why the age may have been long. I'm not saying that's definitely why. I don't care. I'm just helping y'all out with the things that y'all care about and perspectives that y'all do not apply. So you have to apply every aspect of this. Some of you may say, I heard that before with the, okay, but I go in depth so you can grasp every perspective. Because then the person may say, well, if that's the case, then such and such may have been born. If Methuselah wasn't 900 years old, he was truly 120 or 80, 90 years old when he died. That means when he had his firstborn son at 120, he was only 8 or 12. And it's my point. You got to adjust the times with their wisdom. He may have been, when they telling his story, he may have been in the times of when the seasons was a year. But it's not being adjusted to the man. It's whatever people is talking about you. They're going to talk about you in their terms. Over in Africa, they keep 13 months in a year in some places. Most places, I think. But I know over in Ethiopia they do. And it's a deep thing. I was trying to think of the name of this place because I had a little shorty over there. I always forget the name. I could never forget the name of the place. Adabisi. We are over there where they love Selassie. But they keep 13 months and whatnot. And it's just a deep, cold-blooded thing, man. Their year is not ours. It's not 2013 on their calendar. It's something else. And if they're speaking about me, they don't adjust all of that for me. For what? They're not even speaking to us. They're speaking to their people. So why would they speak it in our language? Oh, yeah, he was really... Like, ain't nobody got time for that. So it's just adjusted. But you just have to have wisdom to know. Men adjust their knowledge in seasons, months, weeks, years. All of these things were years at one point in time. So a month was a year to men at one point in time in life. A season, which is 3 months, was a year for men at one time. And every man be 4 years old in a year's time. And prior to that, every man be 13 years old in a year's time. And as the wisdom is adjusted, then you get to today's times where a man is a year, 1 year old at 1 year's time. But it's a deep thing. It's your main man, Silas, the wise servant. Whew. It's getting a little warm. But gotta have this on. A lot of times I do my videos and I forget the manner that I do for them. Like, Sometimes my hair be out, and I know people be like, man, why he did that? Well, I'm in my house, so I ain't really actually think about that. That's how my hair was before I pressed play. And I forgot to say, like, oh, people shallow-minded, so they like, oh, he's in his house chilling, but he should get dressed. Do his hair. Cause, for what? I ain't going nowhere right now, so that's why. Like right now, I just came in not too long ago, I still had my hat on, so that's why it's on. But it's a deep thing. It's your main man, Solace, the wise servant. Peace and wisdom.